Got my guy Cam in the building. Time for another check-in, even though it's been many since we didn't start the first interviews. But for the people that are new to the platform, who are you? Where you from?
My name is Bertrand. I currently reside in Hampton Roads, VA. Military child, so I was actually born in North Carolina. Moved around a lot of my life. Virginia's home, honored to call it home. I'm the CEO of Violence Intervention and Prevention. I'm also the founder of Buy Back the Block, Beyond the Bullet, and the Gun Violence Intervention and Prevention Outreach and Resource Center. I'm a community activist, national subject matter expert in gun violence prevention, published author, and gun violence survivor. So mental health professional, we do it all.
Right, okay. Yeah, and I mean, you got quite a story,
Yeah.
and as this, out there documented. So how important, let's do a little quick, like deep dive into like the mental health for you and how it pertains to the community.
Yeah, well, we're actually sitting in Norfolk right now, made in Norfolk. I'm actually probably a couple miles away from where I experienced my own personal trauma with gun violence and being a gun violence survivor in Gun Violence Awareness Month, which is also Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I think it's really important that we just are creating safe spaces for us to be unapologetically ourselves. I think a lot of people don't understand what happens when we experience trauma and how it does impact our cognitive skills and abilities just to show up as Black men in the community. And so for people who aren't familiar, even these cognitive skills may be just our daily decision making, the things that we are focused on, our sleep hygiene, our appetite, our temperament, and our emotional intelligence. So there's a lot of different things that come into that. But for me, being a mental health advocate is also being representation for exactly what I want for our people. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's important for me, and I've learned so much on this journey when it comes to my own mental health. And I believe that a lot of times I've been able to turn my pain into power for helping other people because a lot of my trauma is rooted in anger. I am still angry a lot of times about what happened when I got shot, and I'm still considered a statistic in this city that I'm still sitting in right now. The fact that I'm an unsolved case in a city that does impact my mental at times, because that means for people to understand that basically, he's never caught the person who shot me. I could walk out this joint right now, go get some food from Feather and Fin and run into her. And so my mental aspect has to be that how I respond to what could be defined as disrespect or intolerance or violence or a threat. To me, I have to be able to understand that the biggest thing I can do is focus on survival. And for me, that's been my biggest thing for focusing on my mental health when it comes to what I want for my family, what I want for my bloodline, what I want for my lineage. And I think that liberation is exactly that, breaking generational curses and providing a way to build these bridges and not barriers.
Yeah, for sure. So them bridges crazy, man. It's like you really gotta maintain that sense of community, and I feel like you do a great job of that. So I gotta salute you, with all the work. So let's get into this tour. It's not just about the 757, even though, this is like the roots, but you've been branching out, so you can speak a little bit about that.
For sure. And I think for me, speaking to roots is knowing that I lived in so many places. I lived in so many places over time that I consider home, right? So my roots have always been spread wide, and I oftentimes feel compelled to go back and invest in places that have invested in me, right? But this national and gun violence tour, the actual term is Beyond the Bullet, right? So we have the national and gun violence Beyond the Bullet tour. We got over 15 cities. We've already been to 5 of them. And so for me, I've been called to do work in these cities year after year after year. I had the honor and privilege of coming in and uplifting these communities, whether it comes to violence prevention, mentorship, counseling, advocacy, social justice, environmental justice, whatever the case may be. So to create a tour to where I can go and bring best practices from Hampton Roads and 757 to other areas, but also use my background as a social scientist and as a qualitative researcher to take the work that is being done in other areas to amplify it, to uplift it, to empower it, and to also bring it back to other areas that could utilize it. So for instance, we started off in Richmond, being in a historically Black district called Jackson Ward, and being able to focus on civic engagement through the State of the People tour, and going straight from there to Minneapolis for the George Floyd 5-year remembrance, right? A city that has been impacted by police brutality, which actually creates a ripple effect on the gun violence in communities. People don't realize that. When we have a lot of police brutality, that means there's lack of public safety. There's lack of idea of what public safety looks like.
Engagement,
and then what does justice look like for the people who are engaging in violence. So if they don't have social justice, you will see street justice. And so for us, it's making sure that the cities we go to, we're bringing that data to the forefront and finding different ways to connect people to the solutions, right? So in Minneapolis, we saw a epicenter, a ground zero situation where George Floyd's death created a conversation which turned into organization, which turned into mobilization. And so for us to capture that and to make sure that that narrative was controlled in a way that uplifted our people in the fight that they have continued to push, and to show that mutual aid, which means community, which means the grassroots, which means our neighbors, which means the people that you see each and every day have an opportunity to invest in our future. So going from Minneapolis and taking best practices from there, and the work that we've done in Minneapolis for the past 5 years, we've spent months and months in Minneapolis every year, learning, growing, investing, and uplifting. We went from Minneapolis to New York, to Louisville, Kentucky, New York, and Louisville in particular, New York having a space for a Justice Summit. But for me, the benefit of doing this tour is also having the duality. So although that was a more event that was more so stakeholders and people and policymakers having conversations and not as much action, we got to go straight to Phoenix, Arizona, and then Louisville, Kentucky. And Louisville is another home for us. So for people who aren't familiar with VIP LLC, we are a national organization that also serves remotely in Uganda. So being able to go back to Louisville where we have another home and bringing all this forefront to where it's like people are seeing that they're a part of this national tour, they see that they can actually bring some of the best practices, and beyond the bullet is a bleeding control program that we have. So now, for people who have been in Hampton Roads, for people who have been in North Carolina and other cities that have experienced our bleeding control programs, people who have had questions about what's going on in the communities and what the work we're doing, I've been able to create this platform that people can actually experience it, touch it, feel it, and it's tangible. And people feel like they're part of something that's bigger than themselves, and that's been a huge reward in that. So now that we've been able to travel on this national tour, we've been to, again, Minneapolis, Louisville, Phoenix, Arizona, Richmond, New York. We still got Durham, North Carolina. We still got Atlanta. We still got Houston. We still got Miami. We still got Baltimore, DC, and Philly. And so as this continues to grow, I'm very grateful for the community partners that we've been able to partner with, our co-leads in each city, and for the people that have been able to help curate so that the people in the community feel a part of this. They know that they're leading this, that it's survivor-led, it's trauma-informed, it's evidence-based, and it's outcome-driven. So I kind of pumped fake on it last year, but I ain't gonna lie. I didn't think I had the bandwidth to pull something like this together. And June is one of our biggest months because Gun Violence Awareness Month is huge for us, but we also have our Juneteenth festival that we're preparing for and things like that. So taking this on would not have been possible if it wasn't for the co-leads that I have in every city, our community partners, our sponsors, our investors, our volunteers, and everybody that's helping it possible.
Yeah, dope. And, I do want to speak more about, just like the resiliency it takes, with that. And like you talked about mental health, it's good to make these moves and, continue to push along, but that can be very taxing. So, that's important for other people to hear, to want them to share their story.
Yeah, it is. Like, I think when this idea came to me, why did I even want to do a national Beyond the Bullet and gun violence too? Why? Because gun violence is happening everywhere. It's happening in our communities, it's happening with education and the school system, right? We see it in our neighborhoods. People see it in grocery stores, at the movies, like in places that we should be able to go and have a good time. So to take something that's being attacked, gun violence and the work that we're doing, the funding for it is being stripped every single day. Donald Trump has taken hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars away from the work that we do every day to create crisis stabilization, to house people safely if they're in a violent situation, to help people with victim compensation if they have lost wages or have lost loved ones due to gun violence. People don't even know that they're eligible for these things, right? So us knowing that there's things that are getting taken away, but finding a way to make it appealing. We're battling algorithms and viral sensations. So for me, this tour was a way to make sure we keep what is important in the forefront. Can we keep the main thing the main thing?
Yeah.
And rappers and artists ain't the only people that can go on tour. So I know for a fact that for me, if I have so many places I've been blessed to be called to, we were able to build this tour together with people who actually care about what's going on in their cities. And then for people who are not aware of what's going on in other cities, we were able to create a coalition. And I've told a lot of people, I got youngins that I've lost each and every month, and I carry them with me to every city I go to. And at this point, if we could become the biggest gang in America, then we can win. And what that looks like is making sure we create safety for our people, that we're addressing poverty, hunger, and homelessness, that we're addressing lack of education, lack of resources, access to these things, and making sure that they look like us, that we can actually
represent,
go and they represent us, and we can go to get resources in our communities and not to take a bus miles and miles away to a neighborhood that don't look like ours.
Yeah, and I do want to ask you this though. So today being Juneteenth, we were supposed to run this interview with things just naturally God's timing, and it worked out just perfectly. Yeah. So being here, made in Norfolk, all of us got our brands and stuff, and with today being such a purposeful and kind of recently celebrated day, it's like, how important is it? Because I know this is a part of your mission as well, the social economics and just pouring back into the community. You got the buyback block on as well. So, as we get into that, salute Made in Norfolk for the hospitality and, being a part of this project. So, you can speak on that.
Yeah, I think that what I've seen a lot is that our government has placed priority on things that never benefit us, right? We equate for the most spending power in America, but we don't see the benefits or the results of it, the fruits of it. And the fact that when you talk about gun violence itself and violence in general, the fact that our government spends hundreds of thousands of dollars per person per day in the aftermath of gun violence. That means that the lives that are lost, the police that are paid, the resources that are spent, the cleanup that is required, they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to hospitals and stabilization and first aid responders and all the things that come with that. And it makes you wonder, do they care more about profiting off of our death than investing in our lives? $100,000 a day per person, which means that equates to over $60 million a year, right? And so we're talking about the idea that if they took half of that and invested in the prevention of the loss of lives and prioritize prevention of the loss of lives, then we can actually see a return on our investment. I think it's so important for us to address that and know that our government has never created a way for us to actually stabilize and sustain the work that we're doing in our community. So when we talk about Juneteenth, when we talk about liberation, we talk about the idea of buying back the block, taking back our communities that we live in, empowering each other, and leaning on each other to make sure that we're investing in people and investing in people.
Yeah, for sure. So, with what you're doing in terms of today, excuse me, being like a day off, it should be like a day of rest for people, a celebrated day. But, you still moving and grooving. So tell me more about, what you got going on, into this weekend. So I know it's a week, full of events, everyone, it's a bubbling scene. So, where people find you, what you getting into.
Yeah, so we got our third annual Juneteenth Festival happening this weekend. That's going to be at 801 Church Street from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. So during that time, we're going to have free resources for families. We're going to have food. We're going to have performances. We got my boy Biggie, we got Fakazumi DJing throughout the summer. We got free performances coming through as well. So it's going to be a good time for people to come out and just fellowship and be amongst one another, right? But for us, also just make sure we're doing it in intentional spaces. So teams with a purpose, they do amazing work year round. We're doing it at Purpose Park because they have their own community garden there. So we're hoping to have a small farmers market available because we're in a food desert. So if you don't know, that means we've got no good grocery store around there. We got to fix that. And we got to make sure we are empowering people to make sure they're getting access to things that feed our mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
After that, we'll have an after party at Ordinaire, another black-owned venue. Shout out to Rob Hill for opening up the space for us to do that there. It's R&B verses and vibes. So everybody who's outside all day, I know we got Juneteenth, there's Pride Fest going on. We got the Cousins Festival, so the people who can't make it throughout the day, we got the R&B vibes afterwards. Y'all come through to a great establishment, have a good time, have a nice little drink, listen to good music and good vibes. I think for us, it's important to address that we need third spaces in the Black community. So what that means is that a lot of people don't have a space to go to outside of home and outside of work. So for us, it's to empower that and making sure that our space, the brand that is actually sponsoring the after party, is exactly that. Us having spaces for us. So it's our space to come out and just be unapologetic ourselves. No matter if you can sing or not, you feel me? We're gonna make sure we uplift each other and say that vibration.
Yeah, and I got to. And also, you know, with that, like, just kind of thirst for change, pretty much, you know, and I got the same thing. It's like a lot of people that's figuring out a way up, but trying to figure that way out. So, you know, you speak to a little bit more of your, like, you know, I guess, whatever level of love you got for the 757 and why, you know, it's trending in the direction it's trending right now.
Yeah, I mean, I could have been anywhere. I feel like I could have been anywhere doing anything. So when God planted me here in Hampton Roads, I think that to be in an area that is so powerful and so particular about who the 75 allows in and to represent this space no matter where we go. You feel me? So to be embraced in that way, I've always seen that as an honor and a privilege. And I'm also very vocal in the fact that me not being from here, and as hard as I go for this city, it does bother me at times when I see people who are actually from here and know that it's hard for their own city. Right? The work that I do would not be as hard if everybody was able to build these bridges. If everybody took the time and opportunity and energy to give back. But it's not happening. And so for me, that does fall back on the shoulders for a lot of us that are doing that work. And I am just an ally in that regard. I'm honored to be a part of this place home, and I want to see this place better than when I came. And that's my goal, that's my mission. So a lot of times to be able to be part of this place home and knowing that I moved around a lot of my life, it's been an honor to be able to do that. And so the 757, I think there's a lot of things that are coming for this area, but people gotta want it.
Keep it authentic.
Yeah.
Store hours.
Right in
Made
the
in Norfolk.
Oh.
I know you good. Hey, look, this is.
I was wondering why y'all was doing it right there. I'm like, I can't even go and look over there.
Oh, my fault. All right, we got to wrap this up.
I can't even go over there and look at it.
Sorry.
All right, we got a good
Y'all want to
time.
me real quick for that?
Yeah, definitely.
Can we get 30 seconds to do our outro?
Sure.
We'll do it. All right. All right, give me 30 seconds. Bump up. All right. So where can the people find you, get in touch with you?
So social medias, we got Buyback the Block, VIP.org is our website. I'm on Instagram at Mind of a Billion. My business page is VIP.LLC. And I think that's about it. And so for people who may be interested in finding out more information about the Gun Violence Tour, you can hit us up on our email, ngunviolence.va@gmail.com. We are still open for partnership in the other cities that we have coming up. So if anybody is watching this and you're in Atlanta, Houston, Baltimore, DC, or Durham, North Carolina, holler at us.
Word. Yeah, and appreciate the work you've been doing for the community. So we got Cam, Bertrand, VIP, and we out.
Yes, sir.